So in case you missed it, over on my TikTok, I've been doing a full series about what are the most common digital nomad jobs. If you're looking to travel and work online, then this is the video for you. I'm going to break down for you all of these different jobs, the different categories they come under, and how you can start the process. First off, there's two main categories when we're talking about working online and traveling. The first category is those people who are self-employed or run their own business. And the second category is of remote workers. Now, I start the video with this because I want to give you some true pros and cons to each of these categories. So first off, let's break down the pros and cons of being a remote employee. A remote employee refers to somebody who is employed inside of a business with a formal employment contract. You are essentially working a normal job just from any location. This is really common in the tech, sales and marketing industries as an option for people who want to travel. And the pros of this include stability. You know exactly what your paycheck is going to be and exactly when you're going to get it. You know what to expect with your job. It's really unlikely that you're going to have like crazy projects that are going to halt your travel because you are an employee. You work 9 to 5 and you're able to check out outside of that time. But that's actually where one of the major cons of this type of role comes into. If you are a remote employee, you are working 9 till 5 or 9 to 5 in your time zone typically. So I've been working at co-working spaces where there's literally been someone there from like 5 o'clock in the morning, or vice versa, where they've been there until super late at night. And when you're trying to travel and enjoy the location in which you're at, that can be a real big headache. Knowing that you have to be at your desk and available for work from X time till X time in your time zone can actually put a bit of a dampener on getting to go out and experience things. Another negative here is your working environment's gonna have to be really stable. You're gonna have to make sure that your internet is always spot on, and your job is going to be super flexible if they're happy for you to work remotely from abroad. But how flexible are they in terms of, are they happy for you to take working days at a cafe, or are they not? Are they wanting you to make sure that you're in a co-working space or at home? Do you need to be available for calls and meetings with your boss or your clients for the business, and need to therefore be in a specifically calm and quiet environment? And from my experience, even co-working spaces can cause some hiccups for kind of calls. There's an awful lot of co-working spaces, especially when I was in Bali, I noticed that they were like dead silent. You were not able to take calls. It was just not appropriate, frankly. Like, you would have been disrupting everyone else who was working from that office. But yeah, realistically, the thing that I want you to consider is the time zone difference and sitting at a desk all day, every day. You are not your own boss. You are answerable to somebody else, and therefore you have to make sure that you are available for them on their work schedule. So some of the things that you can do as a self-employed person are going to be off limits for you. The other category is self-employed, and you can probably tell by the breakdown of remote employee, but I'm a little bit biased here. I've only ever traveled abroad as somebody who works for myself, and I quite frankly couldn't imagine what a change of the experience it would be to be working for someone else in this scenario. The big benefit of working for yourself is you can work when you want. There have been many a time that I've decided that I'm not going to work in the day and I'm going to work from sunset down, and all my work gets done when I don't want to be out and about traveling and enjoying my location. Vice versa, there's been loads of times where I have my working kit in my bag, and if I'm sat down for lunch somewhere, I'll just walk that out and get some work done for an hour or so. And my working day kind of gets spread out quite drastically through the day. I don't tend to work specific hours. The big benefit of being self-employed as well is that your cap for income is unlimited. You can feasibly earn as much money as you want to, as much money as you need. And if you're traveling, it's likely that your costs are going to be pretty low. So you'll probably be saving a good amount of money for the future. The cons of being self-employed come along with just the cons in general. The cons of being self-employed where you travel don't really change to what it's like at home. One of the main cons is going to be the reliability of your income. If you are new to being self-employed, I would say hold off on travel. I know that's probably not what you want to hear. You're planning and getting excited about the process of traveling the world. But being self-employed can be a big roller coaster when it comes to income. You can definitely go through these periods of feast and famine where you're making loads of money and very little. This gets better over time, and you'll be able to implement strategies to make sure that that happens less. As an aside, if you're interested, I do have a free training in the bio below that's about how to get 3 high-ticket clients per month for online service providers. So that might provide a little bit of insight to you as to the kind of thing that you need to get set up. But in the early days, it's pretty unpredictable. And not just that, but you are your own boss for sure, but you do answer to clients in a lot of cases. So you may very well have project deadlines, you may very well have days or even weeks when you're traveling that you don't get to enjoy it in the way that you do, usually because you're tied to your desk, making sure that you can tick off those deadlines. Again, as you get more experience with business, these sorts of things do get easier, you're able to plan better. So how does this tie into then the different roles that I see people having? Who am I meeting on the road and what do they do? So the easiest option is going to be that of becoming a remote employee. Getting a job where you're able to work abroad isn't hugely unlike getting a job when you're at home. You'll go through a similar interview process and you'll do the work. There's also a bunch of TikTok pages and even websites dedicated to remote employee only jobs. So if you're thinking about traveling very shortly and don't yet have a source of income confirmed, becoming a remote employee, although it has its cons, is probably going to be the easiest way for you to make sure that you're going to be able to get on that flight and know that you've got money coming in. Second, the most common job that I probably see while I'm out and about traveling is that of a freelancer. People who work for themselves but leverage a skill that they have, like digital marketing, web design, graphic design, copywriting, and offer that service to businesses. With this, it does tie into some of the negatives I talked about being self-employed. You will have to build out your own client network. And of course, you must have a skill that you can charge for. The next really common job that I see that might interest you is that of a brand owner. This is typically one of 3 things. Somebody who is drop shipping, who is using an e-commerce business model, or maybe actually is designing and manufacturing their own products. But they're typically product-based business owners who are selling a tangible thing to customers on the other end. You will not be answerable to clients because your product is getting sent out. So you won't necessarily have clients and deadlines like a freelancer would, but there are definitely some issues here. There are definitely some things that are going to make it tough. It's B2C first off, so it's business to customer. You can charge a pretty penny for a freelance project. For a product that you're selling to one person, there is going to come into play kind of market value and what realistically that item is worth. So you're probably going to need a lot more customers. And with that, you're going to need a lot more of an audience and to be able to market so that you have customers in the pipeline. You'll also have to deal with things like packaging and manufacturing, shipping things out, all of which can be very complicated. I can't speak to because I've never run a product-based business, but just from having worked with people who have or having contacts who have, I've heard some of the headaches that you can come across. This is brilliant if you have a creative streak though. If you're really artistic, becoming a brand owner is going to be something that will probably really speak to you. Next up would be something within the online education space. So this is often a kind of development beyond freelance. A lot of the time, people in the online education space start off as a freelancer and develop from there. They offer courses, training, or consultancy and coaching around a subject matter that they are an expert in. And the difficulty with this one is it's really hard to put your finger on because it can look like a million different things. It can look like selling courses and templates online, or it can look like doing Zoom consultations with businesses and helping them put things into place. It can even be life coaching, fitness coaching, but this kind of online education space where rather than doing something for people like the freelance option will, this is more about giving people the skill and power to be able to do it themselves. And the way in which you do that can change. I will say the huge benefits here are that you are not going to have that delivery deadline that a freelancer will. And in many cases, you can still charge good money in B2B spaces to deliver training, consultancy, or coaching, but it is a very competitive space at the moment. There was a boom in the online education industry in 2020 through the pandemic. You also will likely be competing with people who have a lot of experience. So a lot of people in this space have had full corporate careers as top sales and marketing directors or business directors, and that's why they're offering their expertise. So you will absolutely have to make sure that you know what's what and you're able to truly give educational information that's going to transform the people on the other end. Next up is something called TEFL, which is a program in which people teach English online or abroad. TEFL has been around for so long. I remember graduating university and someone who was in uni with me was going through the process of getting the TEFL kind of registration qualification to be able to go and teach English to kids in China. I've also heard of people doing the same in Thailand, and it's possible to do this online as well. The process of this qualification is to give you a teaching skill, but to be able to do that in your own language. So if you speak English, you can teach other people English without needing to know their home language. It sounds baffling that you could possibly teach someone if you don't speak their language, but it's very much like an immersive teaching experience. I will say I have limited knowledge about this, but I've just heard of lots of people doing it. It's also possible to actually travel with this qualification and be able to go and spend, let's say, a year in Thailand and then a year in China, so on and so forth, and using that teaching knowledge that you have. And finally, I want to touch upon content creation. I think content creation, whether it's UGC or influencer style content creation, is also a really valuable way that you can make money online and a way that people do it and travel. And the other benefit of content creation is that quite naturally being a digital nomad will lend itself to lots of content. I can speak to this as someone who runs my own business but also makes content online. I'll pop the travel blogs playlist on the screen to show you exactly what I mean. And the joy of this is it's basically monetizing your personality, especially the influencer space. UGC not so much, but you're monetizing and creating content around who you are. So the work, so to speak, is just editing that content and getting it live, which can be outsourced as soon as you start making enough money. The downside is you may feel like you're constantly working because you are constantly taking snippets, you're constantly being on for the camera, which sounds to people who don't make content like a real big cop-out, but honestly there are some incredible experiences that I've done while traveling that I've made a conscious choice not to film because I want to be in that moment and be able to take it in instead of worrying about what it looks like through a camera lens or how I'm presenting myself in that moment. So that's my rundown of the most popular jobs that I've come across with digital nomads that I've met on the road. I'd love to hear from you. If you are traveling and you do something else, leave it in the comments below because I would love to see what the width of people's jobs are in the digital nomad space, and I'm sure it'll help out some of the people watching who are curious too. Aside from that, if you're after more tips on how to become a digital nomad, how to travel and make money online, and how to run an online business, don't forget to hit subscribe and follow me over on TikTok and Instagram. I literally make content about this all day, every day. So if you're somebody who's in the position where you're just getting started, you're going to want to take a look.